the thing that I know that myself, and I think Jodie as well, is just to not go backwards. Meaning is not to tread territory that we've already explored, because we're always wanting to move the characters or grow the characters. I don't want to say forward, but just to continually growing the characters. So
okay, Molly on Facebook says, what is something that you guys as cast members would love to see your characters do in the coming season? So that's quite hard.
It's really hard. And honestly, I don't know about you guys, but I rely so much on the writers for that. Like I feel like I always come back each season with an idea of what I don't want. And then I like to see what they run with and what they create. Because for me, that's what is really enjoyable about this whole process is, you know, a lot of times you finish a season, you're like, where are we going to go from here? And then lo and behold, you know, there is 8 episodes of wonderfulness that they come up with. So yeah, that's a tricky question. I mean, you guys might have a clear idea of where you want to go. I don't know.
Did anybody?
I would love Eve to look great and wear great clothes. Never. Can she? There was a moment. In
you look great though.
But I gotta tell you, after that, she was attacked. So
yeah, you could have fewer beanies and parkas and perhaps something a bit more zhizhy. Okay, and oh yeah, this is a really quick one for you, Jodie. Neve on Twitter wants to know if you think that Villanelle will ever use a Scouse accent on the show while you're in disguise.
Neve, never. We actually, season 2, it got written in one episode and I asked them to take it out because it just seemed too gimmicky for me. I was like, we knew she does accents, but Scouse felt a little bit too much of a far stretch for me. So
on the nose. It's a bit too on the nose.
Yeah, it felt a bit too, like, you know, kind of wink wink to camera. So no, I'm afraid not. Scouse will not be making an appearance on Killing Eve.
Sorry.
Hopefully I won't slip into Scouse at any point. That's the aim.
Okay, there's a question from Laura on Twitter, and hers is about music actually. So the dancing scene, was the music that was played, was that in the show that we see? Is that the music that was actually played? It was.
We had it on the scene, and it created such a gorgeous atmosphere. Like, I remember walking into the set and the essays were practicing their kind of dance, you know, to see where they would be fit around us, and the music was on, and it was like so overwhelming. I don't know, I had like took a deep breath when we went in there. It felt, yeah, it was a pivotal moment in the story, and it just felt so cathartic. I don't know, it was really lovely, and it was nice to have it as well for our rhythm. Well, yeah, my lack of rhythm. Right. Yeah, to keep up with the beats.
And I've got a music question. What is Villanelle listening to when she leaves her family scene and she's sitting on the train in her slightly overdone denim?
Yeah, we actually had speakers and we played Crocodile Rock. I
was hoping it was Crocodile Rock.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. It felt right. I mean, that's what she would have definitely been listening to. So, yeah, we kind of blasted that on the train.
Okay, great. Okay, I have a couple here, which is when you just mentioned something before, Jodie, which I thought was quite interesting, which is where you said that you know where you don't want your character to go.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you said in the past, and what would you say about season 4? And that's to all of you. Where would you not want her to go?
I think for me, it's just important that she evolves. You know, I feel like what was flashy and surprising about season 1 over time, you know, it wears and people get used to it and they expect, you know, what's coming. And actually now what is most surprising is you know, for instance, like, you know, Villanelle letting the little boy live and letting him go see Elton John. Like, you know, that would never be surprising at one stage. So I think it's just navigating that, and you know, and the kind of opulence and the wealth and the clothes were so important to her at the beginning, and now I feel like her priorities are shifting in different ways, or at least her focus is in a different direction. And I just like that with each season we kind of rain check and go over it and see, just listen to what it is that the characters are actually saying, and you know, and make sure we pick up from there and continue on to the next chapter.
Okay. Is there, I mean, we've mentioned clothes, Sandra, but is there anywhere that you don't want Eve to go? Presumably back to a chicken. I don't presume she wants to go back there.
No,
I'm desperate for keeping her out from the chicken.
You know, I actually going to add to what Jodie is saying. And, you know, when these are all kind of intricate, nuanced performances that are coming from very, very like deep emotional landscapes. The thing that I know that myself, and I think Jodie as well, is just to not go backwards. Meaning is not to tread territory that we've already explored, because we're always wanting to move the characters or grow the characters. I don't want to say forward, but just to continually growing the characters. So, but then that, you know, that really gives the writers such a interesting challenge, you know, because it's like, okay, now, before there was, you know, a cat and cat or cat and mouse or cat and cat kind of dynamic. Now that in some ways at the very end, at the bridge, I feel like they turn to each other and understand like each other is the only one that they can really trust. Mm-hmm. Where you then go emotionally and character-wise from there is very, very exciting. That's where I know I do want them to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Suzanne, you have to unmute yourself for that one. Any thoughts about series 4?
Well, you know, I know the position Laura is in right now, so I would never want to add to the noise of her trying to, you know, distill what she's doing. I will say, I mean, obviously, you know, Laura Neal, who's doing season 4, she wrote on season 3, and she's brilliant and hilarious, and yeah, she's got like the most amazing imagination and mind. So it'll be unsurprising, you know, whatever comes will be like, I don't mean unsurprising, I mean like it'll be vivid and wild and crazy and surprising, whatever she comes up with. But I just think the challenge that any writer has in that position is just that you remain true to the world and the characters, and yet you take it somewhere new, and that involves taking risks, which is scary because, you know, people know what they like about the show and what they love, and when you try new things, you know, that involves risk. But actually, sort of alluding to what Jodie's saying as well, you know, like Villanelle and evolving that, the things that people kind of associate with her, you just can't tread water, and I think that's what the show has done so well, and I know in Laura's hands will continue to do, is just, you know, break new ground with the characters. So that's what's exciting about going forward, but it's, you know, that is the challenge of the job, really.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so look, I have because we're coming up to the end of our lovely chat, I would like to ask you all, can you give us a favourite moment, and this is all 4 of you, just a favourite moment from the last series, either on screen or in filming, or just a moment that you remembered and enjoyed. Who wants to go first?
I will.
Sandra does.
There's a moment when we were shooting the bus scene, and it's a fight. Jodie, you know what I'm talking to say. It's yeah. So it's like, so Eve is so taken with seeing Villanelle that she goes forward and attacks her. And so, you know, Jodie and I are going through fight moves that, you know, we have our choreographer or fight stunt coordinator there to teach us. And so we're going we're going.
This was
through
a take though, right? When
I
this
think it was
happened.
a tape. But
Yeah, it was.
They didn't use it,
No.
but they probably cut the sound out. And so, but there was this one moment where I actually connected with Jodie. Like I connected with her body, not in a terrible way at all, but I connected with her. And I said, I think I said, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah.
Like, in the midst of like fighting, right? And it squeaked out this like, "Oh, sorry." And then we continued on with this scene. And I remember Jodie afterwards, you were like, that was the most Eve thing possible.
Yeah, I wish they would have kept it because it was just genius. It was like she hit me and then she like came back and she was like, "I'm sorry," and then like carried on.
And then carried on.
But it was so Eve.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
What about you, Jodie? What's your favourite moment from the last series?
I think a really enjoyable moment for me was working with Shannon Murphy as the director of Block 5 and 6. I think because like Suzanne was saying, it was such a delicate episode, and as we all know, that every person brings their own energy, but a director kind of sets the tone for the 2 episodes, and she kind of came in and just really encouraged me in a way, and which I think I really needed for kind of that episode, and that was a really enjoyable experience for me. Like we were in Romania for 2 weeks, I think, in the middle of the mountains, which was beautiful and very surreal, but it was very kind of immersive, and it was a very fun experience.
Okay, great.
I also love, my favorite moment from the show though is the bath scene with Fiona and Sandra. That's my favorite moment from this season.
Yeah, meetings wherever you like.
Yeah, so good.
What about you, Fiona? What's your favorite moment?
I think my favorite moment was I was in the bath, and it was a very deep bath. They had to keep on putting water in. And I thought it was very Carolyn that at the end I asked for a towel and that I would just stand up. So I stood up and I was naked. And the whole camera crew nearly fell off their cameras. I was really hoping they'd keep it in. I don't mean in a rude way, but that they would just get the whole, they nearly died. And that was very good.
Thumbs. And what about you, Suzanne? I mean, given, this is a challenge, you were given the challenge of the whole of the series 3. I can't imagine what you felt like at the beginning, and now it's at the end. What was your favourite moment?
It's so hard. It's like choosing your favourite child. You kind of, there's so many you love for different reasons. I mean, there are moments that, I have to say the bus scene actually is one of those very rare moments where it's exactly as I imagined it. And that doesn't happen. I mean, often it's like better or just different, but like when I saw it, I was like, it was as if my brain had been put on the screen, the energy of it. There's detail obviously that they worked out that was different, but just the energy of that scene, I was as exciting as it kind of, when we were thinking it up. And yeah, I actually, I'm picking loads now, but just the poignancy of Eve and Kenny's last scene, there was something in that obviously no one knows it's their last moment together, but there was something in that I thought was so moving. And Carolyn and Kenny's last scene, actually, both of those were just so moving to me. Yeah.
Can I just say as well, Sandra, remember when we did this scene with all of us? We shot it for like 2 days in Paul's house. And me and you were sat on the sofa and we were watching Fiona and Kim.
We were watching their play. We were watching Fiona and Kim play for like a day.
For days.
We were like, they're really good at this. It was so good. Just watching them act. That was a great memory as well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you two sat together like slightly like naughty schoolgirls off to the side. Well, you got on with the business of just blowing people away, Yeah. You know how it is, Fiona?
They were a nightmare on the sofa, the two of them. They just kept on commenting and sort of
Somehow we knew.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to say we've got to come to the end of our lovely chat, but I would really like to say it's been a really great way to spend an early Friday evening. I know it's not quite like that for you, Sandra, but I mean, fantastic. You know, lockdown can be pretty rubbish, but this was really great. And I'd like to say thank you to everybody who tuned in. You're all across the world on Zoom and on Facebook.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate it
Thank
that you're
you.
here. And obviously we'll all be tuning into the next Killing Eve when it happens. But thank you all for bringing such a great series and such great characters to us all, because we really love them. Baby in the bin, killing people, standing up naked, standing on bridges. We love you all. We love your characters. Thank you so much. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you,
Thank
Sandra,
you.
Fiona, and
Bye,
Jodie.
guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.